Aloha, and welcome to a tutorial video for IT 426 Computer Network Services at Brigham Young University. My name is Aaron Curtis, and this is our first video for the class. So, this course is about computer network services, what is that? Think about it for a minute. When we talk about network services, what is this? Well, let's take it apart. When we're talking about networks, we're generally talking about what we call enterprise networks. Networks, connected computers within the same organization that are sharing certain services or resources. And we have dedicated computers that we call servers that provide access, that provide resources to other computers called clients. So in an enterprise network, in a large organization, we have clients on the one hand and servers on the other. So the client asks for something and the server provides it or says no. Okay. So that's basically what we're dealing with. We have clients and we have servers. Clients are constantly asking or requesting for services, and the servers are the ones who can provide those services to the client machines. Okay, so what kind of services are needed in an enterprise network? Well, that depends. What does it depend on? It depends on the type of program that is being used on the client. Okay, there are three general architectures, we call them, of programs used in enterprise settings. The first one is in some ways the simplest. It's called a client-run application. That means the application or the program runs on the client. So office productivity software like word processors or spreadsheets historically have been client-run applications. So Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, things like that, they run on the client. Virtually all of the resources needed for the program to complete its job are on the client. What is needed from the server for these types of client-run programs are services available collectively to the network, such as maybe a shared file directory or a shared printer. So file and print services are accessed by these client-run applications. So those are the types of services required for a client-run application. The next architecture, the next type of application we want to consider is what's called a client-server application. Client-server application means the client is sending requests to a single server and the application runs on that server. So frequently, if we have an application that is hosted on a server and it's virtually being run on there, but there's client interactions going back and forth, then that's a client-server application. Okay, and in some ways we can think of working on or viewing web pages as a client-server application. The client sends requests for particular web pages, maybe on a company intranet, and then the server responds by sending back those web pages. Request, response, request, response. But all of the application is on the server. The web server is what is providing all of the resources here. That's a client-server application. A bit more complex from that is what we call a distributed application. With a distributed application, the services, the resources are available from multiple servers. That's what we mean by distributed. The services are distributed across multiple servers. And so what we have is what may appear to be a single program, but it's actually multiple servers working together. You may have a web server that interacts with a database server that interacts with another server, and they all come together to form a single client-facing application. E-commerce, buying stuff online, works a lot like this. You go to Amazon.com, for example, and you are interacting with their web server. To view items in their catalog, then the web server is sending queries or requests to the database server for updates on inventory. And then when you make a purchase, then additional services are being requested from another server that takes care of order fulfillment and processing. And this continues on and on and on. So this is a distributed application. Okay. So in that case, the services provided by the server computers are different because they're a lot more complex and varied, or there's a greater variety of services available that are needed by the user. Okay, so but in all of these, we have a client that's making some sort of request, whether it's a request for a program being run on the application server, or a request for a web page, or a request for shared files, or a printer resource. There are requests being made, and the function of the server is to respond to those requests. The types of services required depends on kind of the architecture of the applications that the users are using, are employing. Okay, so what we're going to look at in this course, and what you're going to be reading about in your textbook and practicing during this course, is how to provide those services, how to design a network to provide those services, make them available to the users so that they can get their job done. And I want to close this video on that note, that the reason we have servers and the reason we have applications is to help the user get their job done. So all of the questions you need to be asking yourself is, how can I help the user get their job done faster, more effectively, more efficiently, with increased performance? That's why we make services available on enterprise networks, because we want the users to be able to get their jobs done. So understanding what applications they need and what services those applications require is a large part of what IT personnel need to do as it relates to configuring and setting up servers. So that's the main message here in this video, is to think about the applications and think about the resources the server will be providing on the network. Hope you've enjoyed this tutorial video. I look forward to your feedback, and hopefully this will motivate you to take a look at the next video and keep learning more about computer network services. Mahalo.